Hey guys, there's recently been a lot of reviews around pre-builts lately, because it's one of the only ways to get a graphics card. One of the most notorious pre-builts is the Dell G5. It has been named a dumpster fire, a scam, and various other colorful adjectives by Gamers Nexus. This bad PR is probably also why Dell chose to remove it from their lineup. To me, that is a shame, because it's one less choice for consumers, even if it's a poor choice. Luckily, I was able to get my hands on one before this happened, so I'm able to see for myself just how bad this system really is. Like other products on this channel, I've purchased this with my own money, just to know how it feels to be scammed. Welcome back to Reviews for Life. Let's begin. On paper, this system is pretty decent. It's got mid-range specs with an i5 10400F, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 SSD, and a 3060 Ti. The total for my purchase was 1,700 Canadian dollars, which is about 1350 USD. Comparing this to a custom build, it would have costed me around 700 Canadian for everything without the graphics. So I'm paying about 1,000 for the 3060 Ti, which is what you'd find in the scalper market. During checkout, I didn't notice any hidden charges or fees, and everything was defaulted to either the lowest price or none. The turnaround time for getting this computer was about a month. The PC was packed well, and there weren't any damages from shipping. It comes with a cheap keyboard and mouse, and the system worked right out of the box. On the front, there's 3 USBs, USB-C, and audio jacks. On the back, there's 6 USBs, an Ethernet, and an audio jack. The computer boots up fine with some flashy RGB lighting. If you like, there's a setting in the Alienware Command Center to turn it off. So far, the initial impressions are good. Although this processor doesn't have integrated graphics, I personally would have liked to see a video out port on the motherboard, in case I wanted to upgrade down the line. Opening up the side panel, we take our first look at the interior. Everything is clean with minimal cable clutter. The motherboard doesn't use a standard 24-pin, but instead uses some kind of proprietary power scheme. This leads to the power supply also being non-standard. Now, using custom motherboards and power supplies is nothing new, and is a great way for OEMs to reduce costs. The major OEMs like Acer, HP, and Lenovo do this all the time. But normally you'd expect them to follow the ATX standard, so that if any specific part breaks, the end user can simply buy an off-the-shelf replacement. Non-standard components forces users to go through the manufacturer and discourages do-it-yourself repairs. Now, to be fair, Dell never claimed to use standard components, but they're just asking for a negative review with this approach. Gamers Nexus really roasted the thing because of non-standard parts. But here's the thing though, the target market is not for the DIY crew, so chances are they'll never run into this issue. From a business standpoint, the key benefit is that it simplifies the troubleshooting procedure by preventing the user from messing around with third-party components. This also allows Dell to charge extra for servicing the system out of warranty. Moving on to the 3060 Ti, it's quite small, measuring in at only 8 inches in length. The thermal pads are also present and are quite visible when looking from the side. This particular card has the model number 490BGJT, which is not the light hash rate version. How about benchmarks? Well, out of the box, I got a score of 9670 on 3D Mark. Comparing these numbers to similar systems, we find this to be about 9% below average. But how about real-life usage? Well, on first boot up, I noticed the system used about 30% CPU, just idling. Turns out it was because of Windows updates, and once that was done, everything settled down. For Overwatch, I maxed out the graphics and ran it on a 1440p display. Average FPS was 146, with temperatures being in the mid-70s. Even after 1 hour of gaming, the temperature and performance were stable, and I didn't experience any thermal runaway. Valorant was also maxed out, but performed better at 213 FPS average. From the benchmarks, it seems like there might be some room for improvement, so let's test that out. First, we'll reinstall the operating system by using a bootable USB drive. Dell has provided a nice video, which I've linked in the description below. On the hardware side, we'll start by adding a fan. If we remove the 3.5-inch bracket at the front, there's enough space for an additional 90mm fan. Unfortunately, the motherboard only has a single fan header, so you will need a splitter. As for the CPU cooler, I've kept it stock, but there have been posts about people using Noctua coolers. Finally, we'll also remove the acrylic window by unscrewing the brackets that hold it in place. This can be replaced with a plastic mesh to prevent dust. After all that work, how much of an improvement did we get? Well, on 3D Mark, the score went up to 99.73, which is about a 3% performance improvement. Unfortunately, this still leaves us about 6% below average. In gaming, there was only temperature improvement and frame rates stayed around the same. Just like in Overwatch, Valorant only saw CPU temperature improvements. This was surprising to me because I thought for sure the system was thermal throttling. Finally, let's talk about long term. By default, you get the standard 1-year Dell warranty if anything breaks or fails. I've used the support in the past for a chassis issue for my laptop, and they had to send a representative 3 times before it got resolved. But let's just say in 3 years, after the warranty is over, something breaks, or you're looking to upgrade. Well, the most costly thing you can do is replace the motherboard to a standard form factor like ATX. This is because you'll also have to swap out the case and power supply. The only things that are easy to swap are the RAM, hard drive, CPU, and graphics card. As for the software, the processor is compatible with Windows 11, so look forward to that when it releases. Alright, what are my final thoughts for this pre-build? Well, if you need a system with a dedicated graphics card, this is a guaranteed way of getting one from a retailer. There's no issues running modern-day video games with maxed out graphics, even when using the system right out of the box. The side panel is easily removed, allowing access to common components like the RAM and hard drive. Bloatware can also be removed with video instructions from Dell. This computer is compatible with Windows 11 if you're looking to upgrade down the line. As for negatives, the system is priced the same as a custom build, but with scalper pricing. Dell is certainly taking advantage of the current market and have become scalpers themselves. The computer I received performed 9% below average out of the box, and even with modifications, that only brought it up to 6% below average. Bloatware is pre-installed, and system updates will cause 30% usage when updating. Poor chassis design and single exhaust fan causes the computer to run hot. Custom motherboard and power supply discourages do-it-yourself repairs, which raises red flags for long-term viability. Overall, the Dell G5 is overpriced, especially because half the components are custom. If you're looking for value, this is not it. But calling it a scam or a dumpster fire is an inaccurate description. The computer works out of the box, though with slightly below average performance. It's not marketed towards the DIY community, but instead it's for those who want to avoid building or tinkering with a computer. For the specs and given the current market, I'd consider 1,300 Canadian to be a fair deal and anything below 1,000 to be a good deal. Now, if you're thinking of getting a pre-built desktop, there's a few alternatives to consider, such as the Dell XPS, HP Omen, and Lenovo Legion. Alright, that's it from me. If you've enjoyed this content, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.